Good morning and happy 5th of July. Now, why the 5th of July? Because the 4th of July yesterday was all rainy, and so I wasn't able to do any of the things that I had wanted to do, so I'm doing them today. And starting that off with a delicious breakfast of pancakes and sausage. And once that is complete, I will be going on a full tour of the town that I've called home for the last 2 years, Groton, Connecticut, which happens to be the submarine capital of the world.
Groton, Connecticut is a small New English town on the banks of the Thames River in the southeast corner of Connecticut. Originally home of the native Pequot people, it was conquered in the 1600s and built up as a community of English farmers and whalers. Groton's rise to global fame began in the year 1900, when the newly formed electric boat company built the world's first practical submarine. It was named the Holland after its inventor, and it was sold to the US Navy, beginning a business relationship that would last over a century to the present day. Groton became known as the submarine capital of the world during World War II, when Electric Boat built and delivered over 70 diesel-powered submarines for the US Navy. In the year 1951, they undertook an effort that was arguably even more ambitious, to build the world's first nuclear-powered submarine. That ship was the Nautilus. Today, the Nautilus is housed as an exhibit at the Submarine Force Museum. Located next to the Navy's primary submarine base, it boasts the world's finest collection of submarine artifacts and is the only submarine museum operated by the US Navy.
So here we are at the Nautilus Submarine Museum, and I'm here with two actual submarines that were used in times of war. And just coming up to this one here, can you imagine how miserable it would be to be inside of this thing for a prolonged period of time? It's shorter than I am. I'm not a tall guy. And so you would never be able to stand up inside of this thing. It would be absolutely miserable. I have nothing but respect for the people who had to serve inside of things like this. Here you can see the comparative size of just how big modern submarines have become compared to how small they used to be. And it's pretty impressive because you don't think of submarines being quite that huge, but here, I'll stand here in the middle of it. It's not a tiny thing. Here we have a scale model of the Nautilus where you can kind of see what it looked like on the inside. You can see that there's everywhere where the crew would work and eat and sleep. And then in the back, there's the power station. Behind me here is the Nautilus, the world's first nuclear-powered submarine.
Launched in January of 1954, the Nautilus nuclear reactor meant it could travel further and faster than her diesel-powered ancestors because its nuclear power source didn't require frequent refueling and could be run while the ship was submerged without burning up precious oxygen. In 1958, she became the first ship ever to sail under the North Pole. In her 26 years of active service, she traveled over 500,000 miles, far more than her namesake's 20,000 leagues under the sea. She was decommissioned in 1980 and has been here ever since.
So as you can see, on board a submarine, it's not exactly spacious. Every single square inch of space has to be used to the fullest extent. These are the bunks that submariners would have. Not a whole lot of space to get shut-eye and no privacy whatsoever. Even if you were a captain, this was the best that you could hope for aboard a submarine. Smaller than a New York City apartment. And look at these hatches. If you were tall, there's no way that you're going to be able to fit through these. Here's one of the control rooms. And there you can see the periscope, where they're able to look up above and see what's happening when they're submerged. And all of the buttons would take so much training to know what any of this is supposed to mean, and to make sure that nothing went horribly wrong. Back behind here, where we're not allowed to go, is where the nuclear reactor is. And I understand that we're not allowed to see potentially classified stuff like that, but still, I would really love to get a look at it. Here's the radio room, which is a room full of radios. Look at that. How absolutely miserable. Look how tiny those bunks are. How would you even crawl into that top one? You've got to definitely draw the short straw if you're that guy. 10 men would fit in these. It's absurd. And look, underneath the bed itself, there's a storage compartment where they would have to keep all their stuff. I am so glad that I don't have to do that, and I am so grateful for those who did. Looks like this is one of the few spots where they actually had any space. More bunks down there. And there's the missile tubes, where they would be able to load and launch torpedoes.
And that is it for the first part of my adventure through Groton. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're ever in the area, I definitely recommend checking out the Submarine Force Museum. I mean, come on, how often do you get to wander around inside a giant submarine? Unless you're a sailor, in which case, probably less novel. Still, might be worth checking out, if only to see how much more miserable your predecessors were than you. Hopefully. Maybe. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment about what you would do with your very own giant submarine. Next time, on my adventure through Groton, I climb many stairs, get stung by a wasp, and sail under a bridge. See you then.